Assalamu alaikum and a very pleasant morning, girls. Yesterday we have seen the glass menagerie, the scene 1, right? Today we are going to see scene 2. Okay. Scene 2, glass menagerie. In this scene we will see the setting. Laura discontinues typewriting course. Then Amanda's pain. Laura tells about Jim. Laura is crippled, etc. Here the setting of the scene is, it is several days later. The scene is the Wingfield apartment. Yesterday I showed you that apartment, no? The same apartment. The scene begins with the background music. Okay. Laura, have not you ever liked some boy? On the dark stage, the screen is lighted with the image of blue roses. Now, the scene is the Wingfield apartment. Okay, and the scene starts with background music. Here, someone is asking Laura that you have not ever liked a boy. In that dark stage, the screen is lighted with the image of blue roses. Okay, now the image has the stage has lighted and you can see the blue roses. Is it clear? Okay. Gradually, Laura's figure becomes apparent and the screen goes out and the music subsides. Laura is seated in the delicate ivory chair at the small claw food table. She is fond of clad in a kimono of soft violet material and her hair is tied back from the head with a ribbon. Okay, that is the Laura's description, what she is wearing, how she is sitting. She is engaged in washing and polishing collection glass animals. Now what she is doing? She is engaging her with, that is, washing and polishing the glass animals. That is glass menagerie. Amanda, who is Amanda? Yesterday I told you, right? Amanda, her mother, Laura's mother. Okay. Appears on the fire escape steps. That is, yesterday I showed you that steps, right? At the sound, her ascent, Laura catches her breath, thrusts the bowl of ornament away and seats herself stiffly before the diagram of the typewriter keyboard as though it held her by a spell. Now, in yesterday's scene, that is the first scene, last part, we come to know that Amanda is asking Laura to work on the typewriting. Okay, yes, focus on the shorthand. Yes or no? Now, when Amanda appears, here she is seeing that Laura is washing and polishing the glass menagerie. So she becomes angry. Okay, what she is doing? She is scolding her. For that, Laura is going and sitting in a typewriter keyboard and started to spell. The face of Amanda reveals that something has happened to her. She wears a grim, absurd, and hopeless look as she climbs to the landing. She is found to be wearing a cheap or imitation velvet coat with imitation fur collar. Her hat is 5 or 6 years old. One of those horrible looking cloth hats that were worn in the late 20s, and she is having a big leather pocket book where with nickel clasps and initials. This is her full dress outfit. Now this outfit is about Amanda. Okay, the one she usually wears to meeting. Before entering, she looks through the door. She purses her lips, opens her eyes very wide, rolls them upward and shakes her head. Then she slowly lets herself in the door. Seeing her mother's expression, Laura touches her lips with a nervous gesture. Now, by seeing Amanda, Laura comes to know that something has happened to Amanda. In this gesture, what Laura is doing, Laura in a fear, she's just clicking her lips in a worry. Is it clear? This is the setting. Laura, this is the setting of the second scene. Is it clear? Now we'll see Laura discontinues typewriting course. Why she discontinues typewriting course? Laura opens with a maze of blue roses, Laura polishing glass animals. Okay, then pretends like shorthand diagram, not going to Rubicam's Business College. This is, you can see that by this image you can come to know that what she's doing. She's polishing the thing and Amanda appears there, right? Now, Amanda accuses Laura of having practiced the deception on her mother and slowly and sadly lets her hat and gloves fall on the floor, pretending not to note her mother's dart on her. Laura asks Amanda how the DAR meeting was. Noticing the sweet suffering stare of her mother, Laura again nervously asks Amanda if she did not go to the DAR meeting. Amanda tells Laura that she neither had the strength nor courage to go to the DAR meeting. She had rather desired to find a hole in the ground and hide herself in it to escape from shame. She then removes the diagram of the typewriter keyboard and the chart of good alphabet one by one and tears them into two bits out of despair and disappointment. Laura faintly asks her mother why she tore away her typewriting and shorthand charts. Amanda is surprised at Laura asking her for the reasons of her angry action. She thought she'd tell Laura that Laura was an adult, but she has realized that she was mistaken. She does not know what they're going to do, what is going to become of them, and what is the future for them, as all her hopes for Laura have been belied by Laura herself. Unable to understand what makes Amanda worried, Laura asks her to tell her what exactly has happened. Now, Amanda appears to Laura, and what she's doing in anger, she's staring everything, the chart, the typewriting keyboard, everything she's staring. And for that reaction, Laura is asking the reason why she is doing everything. Is it clear? And what has happened to her? Amanda tells Laura that she was supposed to be inducted into her office at the DAR meeting that afternoon. At this point, an image of a swarm of typewriter is projected on the screen on the stage. And her teacher about Laura having a cold and asked them what progress Laura was making in her course. When she went to the typing instructor and introduced herself as Laura's mother, she did not know who Laura had been going to classes since early in January. After some thought, the instructor asked if Amanda could be talking about the shy little girl who dropped off school after only a few days' attendance. When Amanda protested that Laura has been going to school every day for past 6 weeks, The instructor took the attendance book and pointed out to Amanda that Laura has been marked absent on all dates until they decided that Laura had dropped out of school. Still, Amanda protested to the instructor that there must have been some mistake and mix up in the record. But the instructor confirmed Amanda that she remembered Laura perfectly. She added that Lara's hands shook so that she could not hit the right typewriter keys. The first time they gave a typing speed test, Laura broke down completely. She was sick at the stomach and almost had to be carried into the washroom. After that morning, Laura never showed up at the school anymore. They found Laura's house but never got any answer as Amanda was working famous and bar. On hearing this, Amanda felt so weak that she could barely keep on her feet. She had to sit down while they gave her a glass of water. She then despairingly tells Laura that $50 was spent on her tuition and all her plans, her hopes and ambitions for her have dashed on the rocks. On hearing this, Laura goes to the Victrola and winds it up. Amanda objects to Laura's playing the Victrola without minding her mother's feeling. Now, Laura is asking what is making her to worry so much. That time Amanda is replying, giving reason that what made her so worried, so angry. And she went to the DAR meeting, that is parents meeting in the institution, where she found that Laura was not attending the typewriting classes. Okay, at that time she comes to know that her ambition, her hope, her money, everything was waste. So she was very angry. Is it clear? Okay. Then Laura's confession. Amanda then questioned Laura where she has been going then, where she has gone on pretending that she was going to business college. Laura tells her mother that she has just been going out walking. Amanda cannot understand how Laura went walking in winter in her light coat, unmindful of the risk of contracting pneumonia. She then asks Laura where she went walking. Laura tells her mother that she walked to all sorts of places, mostly in the park. Now, that Laura is replying to Amanda that the test was so terrifying. I vomited on the floor and was too ashamed to go back. For that only, I am unable to attend the business college. Now she is asking, you were pretending as you are going to the college, right? Where you were going? For that, Laura is replying, I was going to the walk. Okay, Amanda's agony, that is pain. Here, Amanda has the reasons: walking along the streets, museum and watching movies, glass house, loss of $50, Laura called Jesus' mother. Then, in this, Laura confesses that she was going to the park and walking. That time also Amanda is worrying in the winter season, if she goes like this without any coat or warm wear, she'll get affected with the pneumonia. Is it clear? And she's asking, you are only going for walking? Now Laura tells her mother that she walked to all sorts of places, mostly in the park. Amanda asks her if she did so even after she started catching cold. Laura tells Amanda that it was the lesser of two evils. At this point, the image of winter scene in the park and etc. She could not go back to the business college as she fell sick on the floor. Amanda tells Laura that she cannot understand how she, that is Laura, could spend all the time which she was supposed to spend in Ruby Camp's business college by walking around the park. Laura tells Amanda that it was not as bad as it sounded. She went in the art museum and the bird houses at the zoo. She visited the penguins every day. Sometimes she managed without lunch and went to the movies with the money kept for lunch. Of late, she has been spending most of her afternoons in the jewel box, that big glass house, nursing the tropical flowers. Amanda asked Laura if she did all this to deceive her just for deception. She is at pain as to why Laura could do this to her. Unable to stand the martyred look of suffering on the face of Amanda, Laura says that Amanda's awful suffering look makes her recall the pictures of Mother Mary in the museum. Now, Laura is explaining that instead of I went to the college, I have been roaming here and there. There is in the park, a museum, or zoo, or sometimes she managed without lunch and keeping that money for movies, watching movies, and she spent everything. That time, Amanda is very much angry and worried and helpless. So that face, Laura is comparing that face to Jesus Mary. Okay, that is Mother Jesus Mother Mary. Is it clear? In the museum. That is, she is asking, how have you been spending your days? Then Laura tells about Jim. Jim, another character. Then the crust of humility. Amanda becomes upset at the outcome of her effort set up Laura in life. She is at a loss that Laura has become a flop at the business college. Now, Amanda is worrying and she is thinking that Laura has become a flop at the business college. She is worried that Laura is wasting her time with her glass menagerie and by playing the worn out of phonograph records of her father left as a painful reminder of him. She is afraid that Laura will have to eat the crust of humility, which falls to the lot of unmarried women who are not prepared to occupy position. She has been such pitiful cases in the South where chronic spinsters have to be at the mercy of brother-in-law or sister-in-law, little bird like women without any nest. Amanda's bemoaning makes Laura nervous and shaky. But then Amanda reminds herself that some girls do marry. She is worrying about her future, whether she will marry or she will be remain as it is. Okay. Now, Laura tells about her Jim. That is Laura's crush on Jim. Dispelling her mood of despondency, Amanda tries to explore if there is still some chance for Laura after what has happened. She asks with concern if Laura has not ever liked some boy. At this, Laura tells her that she did like a boy once and she across his picture a while ago. Amanda asks Laura with some interest if the boy gave her his picture. Laura tells her that she has come by a picture of the boy in the school magazine. And knowing this, Amanda becomes desperate and inquires Laura if he is a schoolmate of hers. Laura adds to Amanda that it is so and his name was Jim. She shows the picture of Jim in the Pirates of Penzance, the operator the senior class presented. Laura tells Amanda that Jim had a wonderful voice and they, that is Jim and Laura, sat across the aisle from each other on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays in the auditorium. She then points out the silver cup won by Jim for debating and tells that Jim used to call her Blue Roses. Is it clear? The scene starts with Blue Roses, right? Now, Amanda, in much worrying, she's asking to Laura that if she is having any affair. Okay, love affair. She's liking any boy. Surely I will marry you with him. Like that, she's asking for that. Laura is replying that she's having a crush on Jim. Okay, he is a schoolmate and they used to meet on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays. They used to sit in the auditorium and they won the silver cup also in the debate, and Jim used to call her as a Blue Roses. Okay, then engaged to Emily Meisenbach 6 years ago. That is, Amanda wants to know from Laura the reason for Jim calling her Blue Roses. Laura tells her that as she told him the reason for her short absence from school to playoasis, he heard it as Blue Roses and began calling her by that name. Laura added that she did not care for the girl Emily he went out with. She was the best dressed girl at Salden. Everyone believed that they got engaged. All this happened 6 years ago. It is possible that Jim and Emily are married by now. Now, what she is telling, there was one more girl whose name is Emily, and they used to be very close friends 6 years ago. I think they are engaged, and now maybe they were married. Okay, Amanda then observes that who are not cut out for business careers usually end up married to some nice men, and she hopes that Laura will also follow suit. Laura utters a startled, doubtful laugh. She reaches for a piece of glass. She points out to her mother that she is crippled and crosses to her father's photograph. Amanda chides Laura and asks her to desist from using that word. Amanda says that she is not crippled. She just has a little defect, hardly noticeable even. When people have some slight disadvantage like that, all that they have to do is to cultivate other things to compensate it. They have to develop charm and vivacity, clarity. That is all Laura has to do. Turning to her husband's photograph, she tells Laura that her father had plenty of charm. Tom motions to the fiddle and the wings. The scene fades out with music. By this conversation, the second scene ends up. Okay, that is here in this scene, Amanda is asking Laura, do you want to get married? That is, you want to be married or you want to remain as it is. Okay, I did have a crush on a boy in high school. Now she is replying that I did have a crush on a boy in high school, that is Jim. Is it clear? Then he called me Blue Roses. Now Amanda is asking why he is calling you as Blue Roses means there is one Laura is having some health issues about that name is pleurosis, that he misunderstood as a Blue Roses. So Jim used to call her Blue Roses. Is that clear? Then Laura is crippled. Amanda feels delighted. Laura have to marry Jim. Then Laura remains she is crippled, develops inferiority complex. Amanda says people who are defective can excel in other ways. That is, and this thing, Amanda is very happy that her daughter is having some crush on a boy. Okay, but Laura now Now in this that Laura is having some problem, health issues. For that she is feeling inferior, that is inferiority complex is there. For that Amanda says that people are having inferiority, okay, one or the other way. There some in some point there something is there which is okay, but we have to excel in some other things, then only we will be successful. Okay, for that only Amanda asking Laura to become typewriter or to go to college in a business career. Okay, she should not wasting her time in walking in the park or visiting zoos or museums, church, etc. Okay, for that reason only she wants that Amanda wants Laura to become excellence another way, in another job. Is it clear? Okay. Now Amanda is telling to Laura that you just married, you must marry, you have no job or skills, that is you have to marry a nice person. Is it clear? By this, okay girls, by this your second scene ends. In this scene we have seen that Amanda is quitting her typewriting class from the college, and Laura is quitting her typewriting class from the college, and Amanda comes to know that she is missing her all the classes. She is not at all attending any classes. Okay, and she is pretending as if she is going to the college and attending the typewriting class. Is that clear? And in that meeting she comes to know that she is very she's very bad, or she's not good in typewriting, everything she comes to know. And she comes to the that apartment and asks the reason, okay, from Laura. And she comes to know that Laura is not feeling good to go to the college. Okay, there she's finding much difficulty to attend the college, so that she was not attending the classes. Is it clear? At that time Amanda is asking where you were roaming all those days, as if you were pretending to attend the college, right? That time Laura is giving reason that she were walking in the zoo, in the park. She was visiting the zoo and that botanical park, flowers and penguins, everything she was doing. Okay, is it clear? And much of the time she has skipped her lunch to save the money to watch the movies. Is it clear? That time what happens? She becomes very angry. Okay, after that she's asking why you have done everything, and now Amanda is very hopeless, and she's worrying that whether her daughter will be remain as it is, as a maid. She will die without marriage. Is it clear? That time Laura is telling about her crush on Jim, a boy, and she's telling that that Jim, the boy, is from her schoolmate, and she's telling everything, and she says that Jim used to call him Blue Roses. And Amanda is asking why he is calling you as Blue Roses, what's the reason. That time she says that Laura is saying because of that health issue, Noma Bluriosus, that Jim has misunderstood as Blue Roses, so Jim used to call him as Blue Roses. Is that clear? And after that Amanda now becomes little relaxed, because Laura is liking Jim, and she's telling that you have to marry Jim. Is that clear? Because And at that time, Laura tells her about the inferiority complex. For that also, Amanda is giving hope to Laura, or explaining Laura that every human being is having some defect in their life, but you have to overcome this, or you have to excel in another job, then only you will be successful in your life. So you have no jobs or skills, but you have to marry. Is that clear? By this, the scene 2 ends up. Okay girls, tomorrow we will see the scene 3rd. Thank you, take care, bye bye. By this, you just watch the video, and if you have any doubts, please ask me girls. I will clarify your doubts. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.